Welcome back into the Chris Mathis podcast. I'm your host, Chris Mathis. Glad that you guys have tuned in once more. Unfortunately, for this episode, I'm not joined by my co-host, Spencer Mathis. He's unable to attend today's recording. He will be back for Talk to Him Tuesday coming up this Tuesday. That's right. We will have another guest right here on TCM Pod. It's going to be a great deal of fun and another interesting guest in terms of what he's doing with his career and his expectations for himself and also his career goal. It's a lot of fun to be able to work with this guy over the years, and he's going to be on the show here on Tuesday. So we'll announce that, who the guest will be later on in today's show. First and foremost, had to start it off with the news that you guys heard earlier this week. 22-year NFL veteran quarterback, 7-time Super Bowl champion, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady, hung up the cleats earlier this week. And, it was tough because I'm a diehard Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan. Of course, Tom Brady played for the Bucs the last 2 years and brought Tampa Bay a Super Bowl his first year last season. That he had a big-time win there for the Buccaneers against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But anyways, nonetheless, before he came to Tampa, I recognized him as the greatest quarterback of all time. And if you guys don't acknowledge that, or at least appreciate that he's the greatest to ever do it, that we got to witness an all-time great, I can't really take you serious as a sports fan. I understand that he probably hurt one of your favorite teams or your favorite team. He hurt every team, all 32 teams at one point, including my Bucs, in which he beat us on Thursday Night Football back in 2017. And he even hurt the Patriots by not shouting out the Patriots in his farewell post on Instagram earlier this week, in which he retired. And a lot of fans for the Patriots hated him for at least a year or so that he was in Tampa Bay. Here's a quick clip of Tom Brady's 2007 video of him throwing a touchdown pass to Randy Moss and his last ever NFL touchdown pass, in which he threw it up to Mike Evans. Again, if you guys are tuned in, you want to check us out on Spotify and or YouTube. Apple Podcasts gets the job done in terms of audio. You guys can hear us, but you cannot see this video that we're about to play. So check us out, Spotify and or YouTube, The Chris Mathis Podcast. Go swap over. You're not going to regret it. I promise you that. Even if you guys hate Spotify, you need to go download it and check us out right now. Here's the video of Tom Brady's first touchdown pass in 2007, which he connected with Randy Moss, and his last touchdown pass of his NFL career, in which he found Mike Evans in that playoff game against the Rams. Incredible play. Here we go. Look at the similarities between these two touchdown passes. Again, 2007 and 2022.
Brady looking the other way. Brady going deep down the right side.
And there's a deep ball finds Randy Moss on the right, Mike Evans on the left, and tacks on a touchdown. Same exact mechanics, 15 years later, Tom Brady, an absolute ghost, or GOAT, I should say, not ghost. He is a ghost now that he's away from the game of football, and I really don't think that we'll hear or see much from him other than the fact that he will be doing his Let's Go podcast, which was pretty exclusive over the last couple of years, in which he would try to unveil some, knowledge that was off the tables until he recorded the podcast. He did not make that announcement that he was going to retire on the Let's Go podcast, which is a bit crazy. If I'm SiriusXM, I'm a bit upset because we had a partnership going on and you couldn't shout out your retirement on Let's Go podcast earlier this week. You wait till the next day after it airs to make sure that you put out your retirement and say, hey, this is it. After 22 years, 7 Super Bowls, I'm done. Again, Tom Brady has left. Moving on to Am I Wrong? Spencer unable to attend today, but I can account for and say that he was wrong last week, as he said that we're looking at a Chiefs 49ers Super Bowl here on February 13th. He was wrong, as of course the 49ers lost. The Chiefs lost as well over the weekend. We'll talk more about those games. Also, my hot take, yes, I was wrong once more. Not often am I wrong, but I was wrong. As I said, the Chiefs would not only be in the Super Bowl against the Rams, I also predicted a score over the Rams. 45-24, the Chiefs would beat the Rams. And boy, was I wrong. Neither team will be making an appearance in Super Bowl 56 here on February 13th. So both of us were wrong. Again, Spencer joins us back here on the podcast on Tuesday, and then again next week, later in the week, with our next episode of the show. Player of the Week, Cooper Kupp for Spencer. I'm going to talk on his behalf. Cooper Kupp, his Player of the Week for a dominant performance in the NFC Championship, as Cooper Kupp had 11 catches, 142 yards, two touchdown receptions over the 49ers, in which they beat the 49ers 20-17 on Sunday. Cooper Kupp does it again one call, that's all. That's the best way to describe this guy. And I think that he could be and should be the MVP. If they don't give it to Tom Brady, give it to Cooper Kupp, because this guy is the superstar wide receiver. He does it all. And if Matt Stafford did not have Cooper Kupp, I'm not sure that they would be, making a playoff appearance this year. I'm not sure that they would make a Super Bowl run this year. Cooper Kupp is unreal, shows up in the biggest of moments, does drag routes, slants. You would think that, hey, we're going to cover this guy. We know he's going to get the ball 75% of the snaps, and they still lack coverage. He's able to fight off yards, do out routes, do end routes, go deep, whatever it takes. I mean, we saw it against my Buccaneers a few weeks ago in the playoff round against the Bucs. They find Cooper Kupp down the seams for a big play, setting up the Matt Gay game-winning field goal against my Buccaneers. Cooper Kupp, Spencer's Player of the Week, right here on TCM Pod. Now, my Player of the Week goes out to the Bengals defense, rightfully so. The Bengals defense showed up big in a 3-point, 27-24 victory over Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. They made Pat Mahomes look subpar. There in the fourth quarter and overtime, they only gave up, a total of 3 points in the fourth quarter and the overtime period combined. Bengals defense did not get enough love through national media. However, that's not what we're about here on TCM Pod, the Chris Mathis podcast. I'm all about giving love to where it's deserved, where it's earned. Bengals defense, my Players of the Week. And they really showed up big. I thought that they were not able to get the job done. But how about this? They picked off Pat Mahomes, the baby GOAT, as some of you guys might want to call him. Pat Mahomes, 26 of 39 passing, 275 yards, 3 pass touchdowns. Okay, good. But he also threw 2 picks and was sacked 4 times against the Bengals. The Bengals defense has been phenomenal as of late, and they have a serious shot to try to limit Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford, Cam Akers, OBJ, and the Super Bowl here in a couple of weeks. Again, Bengals defense, my Player of the Week. And we'll see how it all unfolds. I know it's going to be a very interesting Super Bowl matchup. Never in my wildest dreams would I think that we'd have a Bengals and Rams Super Bowl matchup. Never expected that. You could have told me, hey, that's going to happen, even a week ago, and I thought that you guys were crazy. But again, that's going to happen. Super Bowl 56 on February 13th. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll see how it all unfolds. Now, for our Rookie of the Week, not many options in the NFL in terms of who our Rookie of the Week goes to. So with that being said, Spencer and I both agreed to select Ja'Marr Chase, Bengals wide receiver, as our Rookie of the Week. 54 receiving yards, 1 touchdown catch in that AFC Championship victory. And Spence actually just texted me saying that he loves the photo here to my right as we got the podcast logo in order to, kind of brighten up the background for you guys. But again, Ja'Marr Chase, our Rookie of the Week, right here on the Chris Mathis podcast. Stooge of the Week, Spencer brings you guys the Stooge of the Week. He's unable to attend today's recording, so I have to do that myself. And I thought I would spice things up with a video clip of his Stooge of the Week. And he says that it goes out to Chiefs head coach Andy Reid for putting, and I quote, he said, for putting his full trust into Pat Mahomes before halftime. And yeah, they were in field goal range. Instead of taking guaranteed points with Harrison Butker, Chiefs kicker, they said, hey, you know what? Let's let Pat Mahomes do his thing, which, on one token, you think, okay, I think that's a good call. On the other token, you think, hey, let's take the points. And they did not. They went for it on 4th down, and they did not convert. They went into halftime without tacking on 3 additional points, which could have been the game changer against the Bengals in that AFC Championship game. And here's what I'm talking about. Here's Spencer's Stooge of the Week. Here's the play. Make sure to take a look at your phone here as we've got our play, as Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes kind of collaborate and say, hey, let's go for it here on 4th down, try to hit Tyreek Hill. Pat Mahomes confident as ever that he could do it.
At the 6 and gets tackled.
Pat Mahomes takes the timeout.
And the Bengals dodge a bullet.
The Chiefs get to the 1.
Mahomes goes for it, finds Tyreek. He stays in bounds, unable to get out of bounds. Bengals defense for the key stop. Tyreek Hill frustrated. And you see Tyreek going down with the negative attitude. That's not good at all for a guy like him. He's a very energizing type player. He plays with a lot of emotion. And for him to see his team fail there right before half says a lot because he definitely lost a lot of confidence going into the locker room at halftime. And again, the Chiefs go on to lose that game in overtime, 27-24. My Stooge of the Week, I'm going to call it the Stooges of the week. So my player of the week was the entire defense, multiple players. My Stooges of the week goes to the Washington Commanders. That's right. Total joke there. What are you doing, Washington football team? You guys make a change in names from the Washington football team to the Washington Commanders. Here are the uniforms that we will see. Uniforms are okay. I think that the all burgundy uniform looks, somewhat bearable. The matte burgundy helmets look sick, but then you look at that uniform on the right, that black with the matte black helmet looks absolutely awful. The Washington Commanders, my Stooge of the week right here on the Chris Mathis podcast. And just take a look at those uniforms. Give me your guys' thoughts. I don't think that they're very appealing at all. And how can you say that you're the Commanders when your defense is bottom 5 in the NFL? I think that was a bad name change. I think the Washington football team, believe it or not, was a better name without a doubt. And I would have stuck with that unless you have a better name than the Commanders. So the Commanders are my Stooges of the week right here in the podcast. Again, as you guys know, we have a TikTok, we have a Twitter, we have a Instagram. Check us out at TCM_pod. You can see that scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Also subscribe to us on YouTube, TCM_pod, for great video clips on each and every account. Awesome tweets, awesome posts on Instagram, hyping up each and every show, talking about our upcoming guests. You do not want to miss out on this behind-the-scenes type stuff and content that we post on each of our socials. Again, that's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, even TikTok, and YouTube. Follow us, TCM_pod. Moving on now to our Shankarrowski of the week, Shankarrowski Shank Award winner of the week, brought to you by The Drippin' Ice. Check them out on social media. Let me pull up their Instagram right now just to double check. I think it's just Drippin' Ice on social media. It is The Drippin' Ice. Go check them out on Instagram, The Drippin' Ice. Check out this insane hoodie. Got this snowboard guy, a polar bear with Drippin' Ice written on the board. Chocolate ice cream on the ice cream cone right here. Having issues trying to point out on my camera where everything's at. But this thing is absolutely fire. And we've got a ice cream cone, vanilla ice cream right here on the sleeve. Cannot go wrong with Drippin' Ice. Follow them on Instagram, The Drippin' Ice. As of right now, nothing on their website. They're trying to come out with some new merchandise. And they bring you guys our Shankarrowski of the week. And it's been ongoing since week 1 of the podcast. So basically, we pick out a kicker and name off all of the kickers that have missed throughout the National Football League or even college football too. And now that we've got to the nitty-gritty playoff time, not too many shanks going on in the National Football League, which is good for the game, bad for the podcast, bad for the Shankarrowski segment. However, Rams kicker Matt Gay missed a 54-yard field goal try. It was 7-7 there in that NFC Championship game against the 49ers with 1:55 left in that second quarter. And Matt Gay just shanks one. He used to play for the Buccaneers and was terrible with the Bucs. We would go to games and see this guy, and the fans in front of us would say, hey, this is wide left. We would bet like $1 or $2 on which way the kick is going to miss. He goes to the Rams, has a great season with the Rams until Sunday's game, in which he misses a 54-yard field goal there in the second quarter, tied up at 7. At the time, he was 5 for 6 in the postseason, with 46 yards being his longest field goal of the playoff run. And he misses this guy right here. Tune in, check out your phone, YouTube, Spotify, and watch this Shankarrowski by Matt Gay, kicker for the Los Angeles Rams.
Matt Gay.
Yeah, not too pretty. Not too pretty at all. Misses it. 54-yard try, tied up at 7 with 1:55 to go in that NFC Championship game. Obviously didn't go on to hurt the Rams too much as they won the game 20-17. But he did miss. He was the only kicker across the National Football League to miss a kick. And I love to see it because this guy really screwed over the Buccaneers. And 2 weeks ago, he beat the Buccaneers, hit a couple of field goals against the Bucs in Tampa. And it hurt my heart. So Matt Gay is our Shankarrowski Award winner for this week and could quite frankly be the last Shankarrowski shout out that we give because there may not be any misses in the Super Bowl on February 13th. We'll have to find out. Time will tell. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that there are quite a few more misses there in the Super Bowl. It's always fun to see a kicker miss because you look back at the game and you can say in the moment that hey, this could really hurt us at the end of the day. And then here comes the fourth quarter. The outcome comes out. The team that missed the field goal does lose the game. I would say 8 times out of 10. Obviously not the case for Matt Gay and the Rams this week as they beat the 49ers 20-17. However, typically you do see that happening. If a kicker misses the kick, you look back on it at the end of the game and say, hey, if our kicker knocks that down, we win the game. So I'm hoping there are two or three misses in this Super Bowl. And with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and give my hot take and throw it out there. I think there are 2 missed field goals by both kickers. I think McPherson for the Bengals misses a field goal in the Super Bowl on February 13th, and Matt Gay misses one as well. That's my hot take. Write it down. We've got my pen pad right here. We've got some notes. We've got my pen, and I'm going to go ahead and say that Matt Gay misses a field goal in the Super Bowl here in what I guess, 8 or 9 days. In the Super Bowl 56 between the Rams and the Bengals. I think McPherson misses one as well. The guy's been money. He's a rookie kicker. When does the stage get too big for these guys? And for McPherson, who's been nothing but money, I think the stage gets too big in the Super Bowl. I don't know that they lose the game because of this hot take, but I do think both kickers miss a field goal on February 13th. And when they do, reach out to us on Twitter at TCM_pod. And say, hey, you were absolutely right, because that's what you're going to want to do. That's what you're going to want to do. And if I'm wrong, hit me up at the Chris Mathis on Twitter and or Instagram and let me know. I always wear it on my sleeve along with the ice cream cone that I was wrong. I always will. I always have, and I'll continue to do that till the day I die. I own up to all my mistakes, and all the great ones do. So I'm trying to be great, far from it, but trying to be great in all aspects of life. And if I'm wrong with this hot take that both kickers miss a field goal in the Super Bowl, let me know. Call me, text me, whatever it takes to prove that I'm wrong. But you're not going to worry about that. I'm not worried about it because both kickers will miss one field goal in the Super Bowl on February 13th. Moving on from our Shankarrowski segment, brought to you by The Drip and Ice on Instagram. The Drip and Ice, awesome stuff as always. The Big Three. The Big Three, a big-time sponsor that brings you guys our Big Three, is, of course, Information on Demand, pre-employment screening services, offering fast, accurate, and affordable background screening services. Whether you need criminal background checks, drug screenings, E-Verify, academic accreditations, or other screening services, they've got you covered. That's informationondemand.net. You can rest easy knowing a highly trained search team will get you the information you need in 8 hours or less. Just 8 hours or less. That's one night's worth of sleep, as Spencer would say. Again, Information on Demand. They're fast, accurate, and affordable pre-employment background screenings. Again, fast, accurate, affordable. That's the Big Three right there. Give them a call today, 855-914-4636, 855-914-4636, or visit informationondemand.net. That's informationondemand.net as they bring you our Big Three. Big Three for me, Tom Brady steps away from the game of football. And again, I think that if you guys appreciate legendary, stuff, if you guys appreciate greatness, you would know that Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. And you'd also know and appreciate his talent, all the things that he was able to accomplish in his 22-year NFL career. Even at the age of 44, the guy was still balling out for the Buccaneers. In 2 seasons, he had 9,949 passing yards, 83 pass touchdowns, 24 interceptions in just 2 years. The guy was lights out over his last 2 seasons at the age of 43 and at the age of 44. Tom Brady finishes his career with 84,520 passing yards, 624 passing touchdowns, he finishes his all-time record, 243 wins, 73 losses, 7-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time MVP, 15-time Pro Bowler. Tom Brady, an absolute legend. And again, he's hurt every single team across the National Football League in one way or another, whether he hurt your feelings in the Super Bowl in which he came back down 28-3 at halftime to win the game, Dirty Birds, or, he left your team after 20 years in Foxborough, went off to the Buccaneers, had a great first season in Tampa, won the Super Bowl with a pretty good team, but took him the distance, won it all against the Kansas City Chiefs. And then the next year when he retires after his second and final season in Tampa, forgets to shout out the Patriot organization on his farewell retirement post. Again, here are a couple of accolades for Tom Brady. Number 12, the GOAT. I don't want to argue with any of you guys, because if you don't at least acknowledge that he's the greatest to ever do it, or acknowledge and appreciate what he did, I can't take you seriously in terms of sports. He retires the game, most pass yards ever, most pass touchdowns of all time, most pass completions of all time, most playoff pass yards of all time, most playoff pass touchdowns of all time, most playoff completions of all time, most wins of all time, most playoff wins of all time. The list continues with most Super Bowl wins of all time and most Super Bowl MVPs of all time. And StatMuse says he finally rests, and Tom Brady steps away from the game of football after 22 years. And again, that news kind of surprised me earlier this week, because I did think that he still had more in the tank. I know the Bucs flexed his contract. He had a 30-year option this year to come back, and decided to step away from the game to spend time with Giselle, obviously his kids as well. And I can say that it is tough to walk away from the game on top. You can't really ride off into the sunset unless you win the Super Bowl and get that last victory of the season. Or the only other way you walk away a winner is if you win your last regular season game, don't make the playoffs. So you win your last game, miss out on the playoffs. If you go to the playoffs and lose, or you just lose your last regular season game, you don't walk away and ride off into the sunset as Tom Brady just did with the Buccaneers. Again, what a run for Tom Brady. Unfortunately, he had to end it in a loss, but he did come back after being down, 24-3 at one point against the Rams a few weeks back in that playoff game. And here's a quick clip of Tom Brady's time in Tampa Bay. I think even if you guys don't care for the Buccaneers or don't care about Tom Brady, you'll at least appreciate this post from the Buccaneer organization shouting out the Bucs. I mean, Tom Brady changed the organization. We went from Jameis Winston, who had 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions the year prior, to Tom Brady joining the club and really changing things with the Buccaneers. There's a quick clip that the Buccaneers posted on social media regarding Tom Brady, saying, "Hey, thank you, Tom," as the Pat McAfee show did as well. Here's a video that you guys want to watch. It's really cool. From the day he got signed in Tampa with a press conference audio clip to some of his time in that red and pewter as a Buccaneer quarterback. It's a quick clip. I would say no more than 45 seconds, but we're going to watch that right here on TCM Pod as we recognize Tom Brady for all of his features and all of his accomplishments in the National Football League.
They're going to kick the field goal.
Oh, wrong video. Here we go. Let's see here. We got 7 different videos. Here we go.
Something that's obviously very unique to me is it's the first time it's happened in 20 years.
Tom Brady is expected to be in Tampa with the Buccaneers.
The new jersey I'm wearing, I'm prepared to give them every bit of commitment that I've had my entire career.
Unfortunately, missed out on the creamsicle uniforms for the Buccaneers. He could have wore those if he came back one more season. If the Bucs were approved to wear that alternate uniform.
For me, I switched teams and went to a whole different place. I changed my life, basically. Okay. There was a lot of trust, and there was a lot of respect for one another. Our team had the trust and respect that it took to win a championship. Every time you envision yourself as a player, you saw one uniform. And I think the first time I put on a Bucs uni that was definitely different for me.
Let's go Bucs on 3, 1, 2, 3.
That was a little half-assed. Over time, I really got used to it.
Nice! We do it right, they can't stop that.
When I look at 2 decades in one place and then now moving to Tampa and seeing what we've accomplished.
All right, gents, our kind of day.
It's equally.
So what happens now that Tom Brady's retired? What do the Buccaneers do? There's a lot of talk that Jimmy Garoppolo could can find himself in Tampa, Florida. I doubt that. I pray that doesn't happen. He is somewhat of a winner, but he can't win a big-time game. He's been carried by the 49er defense and Deebo Samuel all of this season. Also talk that Gardner Minshew may be a bridge quarterback for a season. And then, another guy to keep an eye out for is Jameis Winston, who played with the Buccaneers for several years. Of course, was the quarterback just before Tom Brady took over for the Buccaneers under center. How do I feel about Jameis Winston coming back to Tampa? Obviously, I like it better than Jimmy Garoppolo. I like it better than Gardner Minshew by a hair. I love it compared to Teddy Bridgewater. I do not want Bridgewater in a Bucs uniform. I think that I'd be okay with Jameis Winston coming to Tampa. I'm not going to say that they make a serious playoff run. I do think that they make an appearance back in the playoffs, no matter who the quarterback is this year, because they do bring back a lot of pieces. Mike Evans, Levante David, Shaq Barrett, hopefully Ndamukong Suh, hopefully Chris Godwin, Leonard Fournette. There's a lot of different free agents that are going to hit the market. Now, if we could bring in Russell Wilson, that's a Super Bowl contender right off the bat. I don't care what else happens with the roster. Bring in Russell Wilson. I just don't see that happening. I think Aaron Rodgers is gone. I think he goes to the Denver Broncos. So there's a lot of questions right now surrounding the Buccaneers. And will they go back to the dumps? Will they go back to the Succaneers? That's a big question right now in Tampa, and I think it could happen. Fortunately, they're in a pretty bad NFC South division with the Falcons, the Saints, the Carolina Panthers. I think no matter what happens at the quarterback position for Tampa Bay, they do finish in the top 2 with the Falcons this year. That's my prediction. Obviously, Matt Ryan now the best quarterback in the NFC South once again. He was for a while before Tom was there, and probably 2 years before Drew Brees retired. And now he's going to be number 1 again in the NFC South, and he has the Falcons in a place to where they feel pretty confident coming into this next season now that the GOAT has stepped away from the game. Obviously, there's some talk about who's another quarterback that we could bring in. Somebody had him betting on not Teddy. Oh, Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins. I don't think that happens for the Buccaneers. And I pray that doesn't happen. The guy's not very good in prime time. So Jameis Winston would be my ultimate pick unless you want to go with Kyle Trask, your second-round pick from last season. And I'm cool with that if our only other option's Teddy Bridgewater. If it's Teddy Bridgewater or Kyle Trask, trust in that second-round pick in Kyle Trask. Keep him on hand. Play with him. Build around him in the free agency and the draft, and then run with it, because I don't think he's going to be terrible. I don't think he's going to be great his first year, but he did learn from Tom Brady. Now, moving on to our second item in the Big Three, Cincinnati at Kansas City over the weekend. The Chiefs won the Bengals won 27-24 over the Chiefs in overtime. What a game. Joe Burrow dominated 23 of 28, 250 pass yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. The guy is legit. Joe Burrow is for real. I don't care what anybody says. I think that he's the next guy in this league. He has no offensive line. We saw it 2 weeks back. He was sacked 9 times. Some way, somehow, helps lead his team to a victory 2 weeks ago, and then does it again this week against the Chiefs. And I know that it's going to be a lot of fun to see what they do here in their Super Bowl. And will they win the Super Bowl? I don't know. But there's a shot that they do. And if I was a gambler and I wanted to bet on the underdog, I would bet on the Bengals, because I do think there's a fair shot that they win this big game against the Rams. Now, Joe Mixon had a big game, 88 yards rushing and then 27 yards on the ground. Joe Burrow had a huge game. McPherson went 4 for 4, kicking the field goals, knocking down PATs, 1 for 1 on a PAT. And then the Chiefs fell apart there in that fourth quarter in overtime, as Pat Mahomes had one of the worst QBR performances in history. So the first half, Pat Mahomes QBR, 98. That's a great number right there. Second half and overtime combined, 1.4 QBR. That drop-off is the largest gap in a player's QBR by half in the playoffs since QBR tracking began back in 2006. So Pat Mahomes did not have a good game. I don't think he played well in the second half, but that Bengals defense also played lights out. Third item on our Big Three, brought to you by Information on Demand. San Francisco 49ers fell short against the Rams, 20-17 the final score. Here's more regarding that. Of course, the Rams pulled away with a victory. OBJ had a pretty good game. Jimmy Garoppolo looked subpar. 16 of 30 passing, 232 yards, 2 pass touchdowns, an interception. I just don't think you can win the big game with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. Yeah, he has a great record as the quarterback of the 49ers, but if he hasn't done it in 3 years, when will he ever do it? That's why I think the 49ers are for sure moving on, and it's going to be interesting to see how the 49ers and Jimmy G work away from each other here over the next couple of weeks. Deebo Samuel had 26 yards rushing, 72 yards receiving. Deebo led the team in rushing with 26 yards. That's tough. And then looking here at the Rams side of things in which they ran, they won the game. 31 of 45, Matthew Stafford, 2 pass touchdowns, a pick, 2 sacks. Cam Akers had 48 yards rushing, and then Cooper Kupp Again, Spencer's player of the week, 11 catches, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns. OBJ dominated again, 113 yards for the Rams offense. OBJ is legit. He proved me wrong. He's not necessarily a drama queen. And shout out to his dad, who is ultimately his MVP, not only of this season, but for OBJ's entire career. As you guys know, he leaked a video a few months back saying that Baker Mayfield can't find my son, can't connect with my son with a pass. And come to find out, he was right. So I can't really argue that. Cannot really argue that. I think I failed to mention my student of the week. No, I didn't. It was the Washington football team and their change of names to the Commanders. Obviously, I was right on that. Now we'll move into, obviously, the third item has been named. We're going to throw it out there as the Super Bowl 56, Sunday, February 13th, in which the Cincinnati Bengals play the Los Angeles Rams. Rams have home field advantage in this Super Bowl. Again, I mentioned it, briefly a few moments ago. If I were to bet money, if I was a gambling man, I would put money on the Bengals just to shock everybody, because I do believe in Joe Burrow. And I think the Rams find a way to choke this game away. But if Von Miller, Aaron Donald rack up 2 or more sacks, they will win this game. Donald is way too explosive off the line. Von Miller had a huge game in the Super Bowl a few years ago in which he dominated Cam Newton. If you guys recall, he fell on top of that loose ball, that fumble from Cam Newton, and Von Miller was named the MVP of that game. There's actually a pretty good bet in Vegas that he wins MVP once more. So we'll see how it all plays out. Super Bowl 56, Sunday, February 13th. Again, missing the lack of Savage Spence here on the Chris Mathis podcast, but glad to have you guys tuned in. And with that, we'll close out the show with an announcement of our next guest. It's video creator Isaac Pugh. He'll be joining us here for Talk to Him Tuesday next week. Do not miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun. The guy films video for sports, basketball, softball, baseball, soccer, football, the whole 9 yards. Isaac Pugh does it all. He's going to be big time here in a few years. Count it, write it down, just like Corey Crouch with his digital designing and edits here for the podcast. Isaac Pugh is going to be legit, and he's going to join us here on the podcast to talk about his career, how he kind of was brought into video creation and getting into the sports side of things with video, with filming, with editing. And he's going to be right here on the show. TCM Pod, check us out next Tuesday. Talk to Him Tuesday with video creator Isaac Pugh. With that, big time shout out to the Drip and Ice Company for bringing us the Shankarrowski segment. Of course, information on demand as they bring you guys our big 3. And we'll close out the show with a thank you from me to you. I do appreciate you guys tuning in to the Chris Mathis podcast. Now, I would appreciate it even more if you would follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and subscribe on YouTube. All one handle, TCM_pod. No excuses. It really helps out a lot, and I would truly appreciate it if you would just take 2 seconds to go follow, retweet, like, subscribe, whatever it takes to help out this podcast. Check us out on TikTok too, posting some awesome clips. As always, I'm Chris Mathis, the host of the show. Glad that you guys joined me here on TCM Pod.